Well, Black and White Nation, you have come to the right place for the one and only Black and White podcast featuring Black James and White James. Black James, it is Super Bowl week. It is everything's happening down in Phoenix/Glendale, Arizona. It's quite the time to be alive as a sports fan when arguably the biggest event that goes on in our sports calendar takes place Sunday. Black James, how you doing? What's happening? What's going on?
I love me some wintertime. I've talked about it in many openings, but in Arizona, they got that heat, that dry heat. And I need to balance against all of the moisture happening in my neck of the woods. Am I making any sense? Not really, but that's because your boy is heading down south to Texas. And I'll be watching the Super Bowl from Austin with a few friends of mine. So that's what's on
What's
my.
her name? What's her name? Okay, we're just kidding. Just kidding.
Hey, but that's what's going on over here, bro. I am heading down south for the Super Bowl.
That's big time.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I knew this Black and White podcast was going to give us a platform to go do bigger things. I did not expect this quickly that you'd be showtiming me, Mr. Worldwide. That's what we're going to call Black James from now on, Mr. Worldwide. Who's Pitbull? I don't know. I only know Black James. There it is. All right, enough fooling around though, right? We talk sports because that's what the people want.
Give
And
them what they want.
of course, we're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to talk. See here, you want to talk Arizona as a state? I like that. Love it down there. We'll talk Super Bowl predictions. I got this 25. I think it's 25 pick prop bet sheet for the quote unquote hardcore fan. This is from, I don't even know where I printed this from, sportsbettingdime.com.
Ooh.
SBD. They're probably the Black and White podcast of sports betting websites. So we're helping out one of the little guys. Gotta help each other out to get to the big time. They're not BetMGM just yet, but we're not Barstool just yet. So just be patient with us. We're gonna go through some of these picks. I mean, these are real quick hitters. This is not a college football 10-pack here that'll take an hour to go through. I mean, these are some of my favorite ones are the yes and no questions because that one, boom, you're through it. We'll talk NBA. This one I want to talk about. Kyrie Irving, trade it from the Nets to the Mavs. Lots of comments from all parties involved. We'll get your take. You'll get my take. I feel like we'll probably be pretty close on where those takes will end up. And then lastly, our best segment. Well, my best segment. Let's put it that way. March Madness, fastly approaching, college hoops. Give you the teams of the week. Give you the games of the week. Give you whatever you want to hear. Black James. I got it for you right here.
I'm here for it. Born for it. Thriving for it. And I am absolutely starving for that Southern hospitality. I'm just going to go ahead and transition us into what I want the listeners to at least experience vicariously through the whole world, heading down to the Southwest is the best. Now, I'm saying all this because my only time in the Four Corners region of America was to see the grandest of all sites. Yes, that is correct, my friends. The Grand Canyon. And not just the Grand Canyon, but Las Vegas as well, but that's Nevada. So on the Arizona side of things, same person who I am watching the Super Bowl with. Shout out to Mr. Metler, was so gracious to host me on a crazy road trip throughout the warmer states when Black James turned 30 years old. So that was the last time I was in Arizona. We've got the Cardinals and Eagles playing there this week. We've got the infamous Waste Management Open. That is the golf tournament where you see the stadium course on one particular hole. And just last week, I was going to bring this up. The Brewers packed up everything, thousands of baseballs, thousands of pieces of gum, and sunflower seeds, packed them up, left American Family Field, and they're on their way to Arizona for spring training. So, White James, add to the conversation. Give us some warm memories or good vibes of the state of Arizona as we all turn our attention to AZ.
See, here's my problem. In terms of sports memories, I only have one from Arizona, and it was a terrible one.
Uh-oh.
But it's okay. You know what happens? It was 2012. Marquette made the Sweet 16. I happen to have a friend living in Phoenix. That's where Marquette was headed for Sweet 16. So literally, 3 days before they play, I'm like, hey, I got to at least take a look, right? I got to see, can I get down there? Lo and behold, I think I flew Delta with a connection through Minneapolis, but it was affordable. I said, I got a place to stay. I'm going Sweet 16, Marquette versus Florida, Jay Crowder, DJO, that whole group. And then Marquette laid an egg and lost. And it wasn't that close. 68-58 was the final against Florida.
Ouch.
It was the old U.S. Airways Center. Now, I think it's Walking Stick Arena right there in downtown Phoenix. My one experience at that facility. Love to get down there, though. Lots of poorly attended games. So what that means for fans, that means cheap tickets. Am I right? But the Brewers play down there, or if the Bucks play down there, if you're in the area, you got a good chance of getting some cheap tickets.
Hey, that sounds like a win-win.
The only problem is when it's the Packers, because all the Packer fans would head down there. Forget about it. Forget cheap. I'm with you though. Grand Canyon, quite the sight to see. That was one of my trips down there. Been through Sedona, beautiful, beautiful area of Arizona. A lot more green than anywhere else you'll go. Phoenix, Scottsdale, love the area, love the people. One of my favorite things. You know where the rich folks live because there's actual green grass growing in their yards.
Mmm. Bougie.
So that's my memories. I mean, Waste Management Open, like you mentioned, going on at the same time, same week as the Super Bowl.
That's
I mean,
bold.
that is. I know this is always its spot on the calendar. It always coincides with Super Bowl week, and to have them both within, say, I'd say the Waste Management's probably 35, 40 minutes north of downtown Phoenix. Because Phoenix is a city very spread out. You got Scottsdale's a big area. Tempe with Arizona State's a big area. Glendale, which is where the actual game is being held, that's a big area. Like it's a big spread out city. But yeah, it's Camelback Mountain. Am I right? Anybody walked up the Echo Canyon side knows what a doozy that is. That's my thoughts on Phoenix. 9 out of 10, highly rate it. Would highly recommend going there anytime between, say, October and April. Outside of that, forget about it.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. Black James, White James. That's 4 thumbs up. Get your butts on Southwest Airlines. Bags fly free. But you know who else is going down to AZ for the first time? It's my boy, Jalen Hurts, against ya boy, not quite white, Patrick Mahomes. And I need to know right off the bat what part of the media firestorm has caught your eye, caught your ears. We're going to obviously get to all the prop bets and our final predictions, but just from the mom level, the most casual of football fans who will only be watching for the commercials and Kriana, what's pulling you into this game? Rooting for anybody? Rooting for against anybody? What say White James?
I mean, obviously, I want to see that Michael Strahan sit down with the aforementioned Rihanna. I mean, that's going to be riveting television. I can't believe that must be, no offense to Fox, because they've been doing this for a long time, but when that's one of your selling points for your 5-hour long pregame show, you might want to cut a few hours off of it. That's just one man's opinion. Let's go back to the days. I mean, a 3-hour preview show, probably that's all you need. 2:00 Central, 2 to 5, kickoff at 5:30. Let's go back to those days. As for the game and the teams, I'll be honest with you, Black James, Mr. Worldwide, I should say.
What's about that?
This game doesn't really grab my attention.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'll say this. It's a matchup of the two best teams over the course of the season. I think that's a fair assessment. We don't often get the two best teams. We'll usually get, the best team and then a team that got hot, a la the Bengals last year, right? Got hot at the right time, ran into an arguably superior Rams team in the Super Bowl. I mean, as a fan, you got to look at this. At the line, Philly only favored by 1.5. I mean, that tells you this should be a really evenly matched, really good game. A lot of great players on both sides of the ball. I'm just hoping for, and this was one of the our prop bets, kind of not so much prop, but just a straight over under. I'm hoping for a big over on the 50.5. I want to see points. I want to see exciting offenses. I know both defenses are very good, which means this might end up being a little lower scoring than people are expecting, but I want to see a good game. I want to see I want to see Hurts. I think that's, if I'm leaning one way or the other, I'll go Philly with the guy who, basically lost his job just because he got hurt at Alabama, basically had to rebrand himself, and everyone doubted this guy, and here he is leading his team to the Super Bowl. Quiet the haters. Mahomes, they're already talking about him as one of the best ever. Let's see the guy who everyone doubted. Let's see him get his and a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to see a repeat of Super Bowl 52. I want to see the Eagles take down Goliath. I want to see Philly fans get freaky. And I want Jalen Hurts to get the ultimate redemption in the face of this kid they are lionizing as the next Tom Brady, and a team which Mr. Wilbon correctly calls a dynasty of one. So we're both rooting for the Eagles. That's the storyline aspect of it. But there's a few more nitty-gritty details of which are fantastic prop bets are gonna help also add some festive fun to watching the game. White James, you wanna run us through this list, and let's tag team some guesses to what is the propositional outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, remember Jim Rome? He used to do this. He had like the papers right in front of him. He always let you know how great is that. He's reading off an actual piece of paper. Well, there it is. I got the prop bets. I just thought of this too. I know Philadelphia sports fans can be a little bit on the rough side.
A little bit.
Phillies just lost the World Series. Philadelphia Union, heartbreaking MLS final, like what, a few days before the World Series finished, but they lost
Yeah,
in penalty kicks. And now you have a
I
third
was watching that.
Philadelphia team. Yeah, I mean that was wild. A third. I mean they were talking about Philadelphia, sports capital of the country right now. I mean, if you go 0 for 3 in a span of what, 3 months? I mean you'd think they needed the grease up the old light posts before,
And
win
the
or
Sixers
loss.
were, Embiid and them were trying to make a run for it too last postseason, from what I
Oh,
remember.
and they're still third in the East. So I mean, the 21-20, or excuse me, the 22-23 season for Philadelphia teams has been really good to them. And we went through a period there here as Wisconsin sports fans when Packers, Brewers, and Bucks, wasn't everyone MVP at the same time, right? 2018.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like we had a little golden age
Yelich, Rogers.
and Giannis, but
Mm-hmm.
as a sports fan, you cannot take those moments for granted,
Mm-mm.
right?
Mm-mm.
Brewers were a game from the World Series, haven't been close since. Packers, let's see here, 2018. That was the year they fired McCarthy, wasn't it? Yeah, maybe it was 7. I don't know. But anyways,
Things
Bucks.
were things were golden here for a hot minute though. I do know exactly that time period you're talking about.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, Philadelphia fans, enjoy this because all it takes is one injury, one, unexpected retirement, a coaching change, and everything can totally fall apart. Okay, as we were saying, Super Bowl 57 props for the hardcore fan because that is the best way to describe us, hardcore fan slash podcasts extraordinaires. Let's go. Number one, here's one you can actually look up stats for. Average national anthem length. This is Chris Stapleton. I assume he's a country guy. Don't know much about him. Sure, the ladies out there love him. He
Ooh.
is. They give him the over under at 119.5. So that'd be 1 minute 59 and a half seconds. I'm just, my gut feeling on this is over because I feel like we're in the era where everyone who does the national anthem has to make it bigger and better than what it's done before. They put their own little twang, if you
I
will,
see what you did there.
on it. So I'm going over, easily over 2 minutes in my book.
Over as well. No way you cut that short. No way.
All right, number two, the classic prop bet, coin toss, heads or tails.
Tails never fails.
Tails never fails. Amen, brother. Number three, what will the first play of the game be? Will it be a pass or sack, or will it be a run?
Ooh. Okay, let's say Eagles get the ball first. I know Sirianni wants to show who is the boss, and the boss is the Eagles' offensive line. Give me the run.
I'm with you. It's a very wishy-washy contingent pick. I'm going run, but if it's the Chiefs that had the ball first, you'd have to say pass.
Hey, yeah, that's why I said what I said.
But I mean, you gotta lock these in right now. All right, next one. Will there be a score on the first drive of the game? Yes or no?
Same contingency, but I'm sticking with that Eagles ball first situation, and the answer is yes.
I'm going no. I think the defenses will set a tone early. Next one. Which team will score first, Kansas City or Philadelphia?
Keep it rolling, Eagles fly, Eagles fly. I'm picking Philly for score.
I'm with you. They're fast starters. That feels like the safe pick. What will the first score of the game be? Touchdown, field goal, or safety?
Back to what you said. These defenses are no joke. They're only going to give up a field goal to get started.
Ooh, I'm going touchdown, like a kind of a second or third drive kind of situation. And that leads into the next question: who will score that touchdown? I'm going, and this is I know this is not a crazy odds pick. This is actually a very good pick. I'm going Hurts on the ground to score the first touchdown.
I'm going a little different. I'm going to say A.J. Brown, designed little deep post.
Okay. Okay. All right, this one's tough. Will the game be tied after 0-0?
Wow. Yes, definitely. Very evenly matched teams. There'll be a few ties throughout.
But you talk score permutations, right? If we get to if you get off of sevens or threes, forget about it.
It's going to be 14-14 at some point. I'm
Okay.
convinced.
I picked yes as well, but that might be 3-3 or 7-7. But that's all we need. All right. What will be the first turnover of the game? Interception, fumble, or will there be no turnovers?
Definite interception.
That was my thought, and that's what I've gone with. But we know these defensive lines get after the quarterback. I could see a strip sack very much in play as well.
Yeah. But you're going interception.
I'm going interception. These are the in it to win it picks here. All right. Will either team score 3 consecutive times?
No way.
I'm saying no way. Defenses are good enough. We won't see that. All right. Here's a great one. Over under 2.5 players attempt to pass.
Now you got me thinking through the Chiefs roster. I don't know if they've got any running backs who might be in that situation, but it is the Super Bowl, and it is Andy Reid. So yes, they'll find a way.
Well, I'm thinking the other way. I'm going yes, but I'm thinking Eagles with a callback to the old Philly special. And I was just thinking that there will probably come a point where a play like the Philly special will actually be a good play. I mean, I don't know who throws it to who, but I could totally see somebody other than Hurts and Mahomes attempting a pass.
I hear you.
All right, this one can almost could determine the outcome of a game. Do we see a defensive or special teams touchdown?
That would be a pretty devastating turnover for one side or the other.
Some game changer for sure.
I'm saying no. I'm going to say no.
I'm going no as well, but like I said, can be an absolute game breaker. If you can score special teams, and you know the kick returners. I don't care how deep that ball is going in the end zone. They're bringing it out.
Bring them out. Bring them out.
All right, speaking of special teams, will there be a missed field goal or extra point?
Yes.
I'm going no. It's an indoor game, clean field. These teams have good kickers both ways. I'm going no. They should have a bonus question. In fact, this is a White James bonus question. This would pay probably like I don't know, 10-1. Will there be a single or double doink in the Super Bowl?
If only.
A doink would pay about 10-1, so keep that one in mind. Just made that up, but if Vegas, these props, like there's just so many of them. If they don't have doink, yes or no, they're not doing it right. They're missing out here. Let's go here. Which will be the highest scoring quarter? First, second, third, or fourth?
Third quarter. Right out of halftime, someone makes a big adjustment.
The old halftime adjustments.
Yes, which is a complete rumor, but I believe in it.
I'm going fourth just because I think statistically speaking, the fourth quarter is probably the highest scoring quarter Teams get desperate, try to move the ball faster. I'm going fourth. All right, here's one that actually comes with odds. Who has more passing yards, Mahomes or Hurts? But Hurts is getting 45.5 yards.
Oh, that is quite a handicap for him. And I know folks are saying he's probably the more hurt between the two of them. Gosh. But Mahomes is a passing machine. And I am convinced they're going to try to make Kelsey the MVP as a hint to where I'm leaning later on in this call. So give me Mahomie. Give me Mahomie.
I'm thinking Mahomes as well. I know the Eagles like to say that they're a passing team and the run is their supplemental offense, but I don't think Hurts is gonna. Let's put it this way: if they're in a head-to-head game, I'm taking Mahomes every day of the week on that one.
Big time.
Who will have more yards from scrimmage? Pachenko for the Chiefs or Miles Sanders for the Eagles?
Oh boy. I do not know much about Sanders, their running back. I'm going to say, I mean, he's a Penn State kid, and I always lean towards my Big Ten boys. So give me Miles Sanders. As you said before, Eagles at heart are a run first, open up the play action pass kind of team.
Yeah, both of these teams, it's a running back by committee approach, both with multiple options. I went with Sanders. I don't really have much intel on usage rates lately. I mean, sometimes you can throw all that stuff out, right? You got 2 weeks to prepare. The defense is looking at all that information. They're gonna know what you've been tending to do. So the natural instinct would be to do the opposite of what you've been doing, and you got 2 weeks to work on it. So I'm going to go Sanders. I got a hot prediction on this one. More receiving yards, Kelsey or AJ Brown?
Now, these two are as close as it gets, okay? You got AJ Brown, he's tied third for most touchdowns, fourth for most yards throughout the year. But Kelsey, he's second on most touchdowns and third for most number of receptions for the year. So, boy, that is a good prop bet. But give me AJ Brown. He's going to get a lot more of those big explosion plays.
I'm with you on that. The over under for Kelsey, I heard it this morning. 7.5 catches, 80.5 yards. So you're talking, if he goes 8 catches, 85 yards, it is a lot of, medium range passes. I have no insight on this, but to me, if I'm the Eagles, I am doing everything possible to eliminate Travis Kelsey from the Chiefs' offensive plan. If somebody else beats me, I'm okay with that, but I'm not letting their by far best player run all over me in the open field.
No way.
So I'm going AJ Brown. I'm with you. Big plays. I think that one he just has more opportunities to put up big receiving yards. Kelsey could catch 3 touchdowns, but they all could be in the red zone. So that one I feel like AJ Brown gets the edge. All right, here's 2 random guys. This is more receiving yards again. Juju Smith-Schuster for the Chiefs and Goddard, the tight end for the Eagles.
Smith-Schuster, nothing crazy there. He's got 3 touchdowns on the year. He's averaging 12 yards. That puts him at like 60th altogether. But Dallas Goedert, he is one of Jalen's favorite targets. I know that without even have to look at the stats. Big stud, gets the job done. Definitely Goddard in this category.
See, I'm going with my earlier thinking that if Kelsey is getting double teamed, that's going to open up the other Chiefs receivers. And I know there's a lot of options. I know MVS is out there. Uh, I'm going Smith Schuster just on the fact that I think he'll have more opportunities with if Kelsey's getting double teamed.
I hear you. I hear you.
All right, this is who will have more receptions out of the backfield, McKinnon for the Chiefs or Watkins for the Eagles?
Talk about being out of sync. I can't even. Well, I can kind of see what they're saying here because Watkins is technically a wide receiver for the Eagles. Despite horrendous stats, he must not be getting a lot of action throughout the year. Jarek McKinnon. I mean, at least he's got one touchdown to Watkins' three, and he's a running back, so that tells you already that they figured out ways to get the ball in his hands outside of the handoff. KC has that offensive wit about them. Jarek McKinnon, their running back, more reception yards than Watkins, the receiver.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's the receiving guy. Again, opportunities are going to be there. That's my guy. Here we go. Defensive question here. Who will have more sacks? Jones for the Chiefs, Reddick for the Eagles.
Ooh, Chris Jones, straight out of your school, Mississippi State, former Bulldog. Hmm. Outside of that, though, I don't know much about the guy. I know he's got a few sacks this year. By a few, I mean well over 10. Oh, 15 to be exact. That alone, give me Chris Jones. I don't even have to look any further.
See, I'm going more. I'm going Reddick,
Talk to me.
and my thinking is he's got 3.5 sacks in the playoffs, and I saw the stat just before coming on air. Eagles first team in NFL history with 4 players with at least 10 sacks. You can't pinpoint one of them to try to stop them. And again, I think this is a situation. Mahomes is going to be the one throwing the ball more. So it's the Eagles pass rush that is going to have more opportunities. So I'm going to go Hassan Reddick.
Okay. Okay.
All right. And that brings us to. All right, we got one more goofy one. We got to skip to, then we can get to the actual game picks.
Yes.
The old which color Gatorade will be dumped on the winning coach? Here's the options. They do clear/water. Obviously, that's not Gatorade then. Red/pink,
Mm-hmm.
blue,
Mm-hmm.
yellow/lime/green,
Mm.
orange, other, or none.
All real men drink orange Gatorade. That's what's coming out at the end of this game.
Okay, I feel a little triggered by that because I like lemon lime, but I'm going orange. I'm with you on that. I know
Oh, okay.
there's probably a red angle to play up with the Chiefs, and I know. I mean, that teams are aware of things like this. So, like, if it was the Chiefs, it would probably be red that gets dumped on Andy Reid. I do think the none option probably has to have some juice because I don't know if they just don't show it anymore or what, but I feel like the Gatorade bath is kind of a tradition of days gone by.
It doesn't get the highlights that it used to, nor do the players seem to be committed to sneaking up and making a big game of it, like I remember from our youth. But it's definitely going down, and it's gonna be orange.
Okay, well, we do agree on that, so we'll come to the conclusion of the picks. We got 4 left. They're all kind of um, tied together. We'll just combine these into one.
Yeah.
Who will win, KC or Philadelphia, and which team will cover the spread, which, as I mentioned earlier, is the Eagles favored by 1.5 points.
Whew. Okay, well, before I answer this question, I do want to take a small little trip down memory lane. Weeks and weeks ago, I had us predicting how this was going to play out. One of us had chose the Bills versus 49ers. That
Yep,
clearly is not going to happen.
swing and a miss. Sorry,
And
listeners.
Black James picked Eagles versus Chiefs. You are very, very welcome for that. Then we fast forward one more week where we got to modify our predictions again. That time, White James had Bengals versus 49ers, with the 49ers winning. That did not quite pan out. And I did change mine around a bit. I went Eagles versus Bengals, with the Bengals winning. So we both kind of came up a bit short there. Here we are now, though. And I've been running with the Eagles for a long time in my predictions. I can't turn away from them now. They are favored, albeit by a very, very slim margin. But they are the best underdogs in American sports. I got to go with the Eagles. I got to go with the head coach who had the worst opening press conference in recent history. I've got to go with the quarterback who's been slighted. I've got to go with the offensive weapons who were owning the league back in October, November. I got to go with Philly, Philly, Dilly, Dilly, special. Fly Eagles fly. They win.
I'm not going to go through my incorrect picks, but I'm with you. I'm going Eagles. Give me the -1.5. Um, I think it's a fair spread, right? I think both teams very evenly matched.
Very fair.
But I feel like the Eagles, if you're looking at the body of work from the season, they've been just that little bit better than the Chiefs, and especially in these playoffs. Like they haven't played a full 4-quarter game in their 2 games, but they haven't needed to because they absolutely throttled the Giants in the first half. And then against the Niners, quarterback issues meant that a comeback was never going to happen. So we haven't even really seen this Eagles team have to put 4 quarters together and what they're actually capable of doing in that case. I think we'll see it. I think we'll see. If I got to put a number on this game, because I know we like to do that, give me Eagles 31, Chiefs 24.
Nah, it's going to be Eagles 28, Chiefs 24, with the Eagles covering. Did not answer that question before. As for the over-under, 50.5 points scored.
Well, you'd be over. That'd be 28-24. It'd be 52. So that would put us both on the over.
We both got the over. And last pick, last question for the current NFL season. Actually, let's make this a two-parter. Who will be regular season MVP? I think that's all but guaranteed. But then also let us predict Super Bowl MVP. I will go first. Regular season MVP, much to my chagrin, is going to be Patty Mahomes. As for Super Bowl MVP, as much as I want to say Ndamukong Suh, I'm glad
Go for it.
I'm glad that his ring chasing has got him to this point. I mean, come on. I'm going for it. That's it. Ndamukong Suh, That's the guy, and you can't change my mind.
Sue. I mean, he's a bum, but I mean that's your pick. That's your pick. So yeah, I'm looking at the odds. Regular season MVP Pat Mahomes, or as the Australians like to call him, Patty Mahomes. Minus 750. Next best odds, Joe Burrow plus 600. That's a slam dunk. Mahomes for the regular season or for the Super Bowl. I'm going a little bit chalky here. I'm sure he's probably one of the top favorites. I'm going Jalen Hurts because they love to give it to the first time winning quarterback. If it's the Chiefs that win, I believe historically speaking, if a defensive player had a big game or if a receiver had a big game like a Kelsey, that second Super Bowl usually goes to somebody else. Can I give you a quick hot take? I mean, this is a flaming hot take.
Ooh, yes.
It's kind of an observation though, as well. And this. I feel like this is a Stephen A. Smith like mid-June topic when they just want to keep talking NFL for no reason. Maybe a Colin Cowherd. I don't know. You tell me. So Patrick Mahomes, right? He has his one Super Bowl championship, came in the 2019 season. Super Bowl was in 2020. They made it back during the pandemic season, lost to the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. So this is his third time back in the Super Bowl, right? My question is, if they don't win, does his career project similar to an Aaron Rodgers-like career where he wins his one Super Bowl very early, continues to be a top 3 quarterback regular season, year in and year out? But we know about the challenge of winning a championship with a quarterback not on that rookie contract. When you're paying the quarterback 40, 45, $50 million, it limits what you can do with the rest of your roster. And look at how the Packers, after Rodgers started getting the big bucks, there just wasn't enough money to go around. And historically speaking, quarterbacks on rookie contracts have taken their teams to the playoffs more often than quarterbacks on, say, the top 10 paid contracts. And I know this was a few years ago that this was kind of a big story, but wasn't it like every top 10 paid quarterback was out of the playoffs after the wild card round? I mean, I didn't look it up for this year, but does this make sense? Is this if Mahomes isn't able to get this second Super Bowl now, do we start asking the question, how open is this Chiefs championship window? I mean, Mahomes by himself, yes, he's great, but he needs the team around him, a la Aaron Rodgers, mid-2010s. The team around him just wasn't quite good enough, specifically on the defensive side. Is this crazy, or is this Stephen A. Smith, or is this more on the Black James end of things?
No, not crazy at all. I mean, just think back to who was on that roster when Roger brought it all home and wasn't asking for $50 million a year. We've got a roster with Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, AJ Hawk, Clay Matthews. Stop me if I've named anyone you haven't heard of before. Atari Bigby. I mean, these
Chuck Woodson.
These are players who John Kuhn. These are players who played their part, did their job, to take a Patriots term here, so much so that a 10-6 team was able to run through the wild card, beat the Falcons, beat the Bears, and go on to beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl. That level of roster has not been present, if you ask me, definitely not in the last 5 years, and definitely not since then. So, fair warning to the Chiefs. If anyone in Missouri is listening to the Black and White podcast, nah, White James, you're making a great point, and I yearn for the days when we were able to build a team with that level of depth, and folks better not take that for granted.
Yeah, I've been sitting on this hot take for a few weeks and just trying to really make sure it makes sense the way I word it, because I'm not saying like this is it's almost a compliment in a way to Mahomes that the Chiefs will always they will always have some sort of championship window as long as he's the quarterback.
Of
But
course.
in terms of the actual reality of them, let's say being a legitimate favorite. I mean, you look at this year from the betting perspective, it was the Bills that were the betting favorites pretty much the
Mm,
whole season. And like this is Mahomes, he's in a sense he had already gotten passed by Josh Allen, but Josh Allen also hasn't been paid the big bucks yet.
true that. True that. True that. We'll
So,
see. We'll see. We'll see. I am hoping that it is simply an exciting game. Just to kind of bring it full circle, I'm not really rooting for or against any one of these teams. I'll say that I picked Ndamukong Suh because if you're trying to tell me that he and other defensemen can't bring home the MVP, I am totally blanking on the defensive guy on the Rams last year who had that game sealing sack. Help me out here, White
who is
James.
this? Aaron Donald? Is that
Aaron
your?
Donald. If he
Yeah.
wasn't in the running for MVP, then at some point, give Cox, he's been in the league for 11 years, a chance at that level of glory, especially if the Eagles defense comes through. Having said all of that, it's been a great season. Loved covering it, and we will definitely be reacting to the winner next week. But as I say every week, as football comes closer and closer to an end, we are getting closer and closer to full on basketball. And the story of this week, trying to take over all the media attention from what's happening in Arizona and away from what LeBron is trying to do in the other half of the NBA, is somebody's guy, Kyrie. He's not your guy, he's not my guy,
Definitely not my
but
guy.
somebody's guy, Kyrie, getting what he wanted, getting traded from what, the third team in a row. Holy smokes. I'm just going to open the table to you, White James. What were you thinking? I was hoping he was going to land with the Lakers, but I also understand that there's no way the Nets owner was going to give Kyrie what he wanted. So here we are, Dallas bound.
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you believe the rumors, they're offering Westbrook and two firsts. Like, yeah, you got to give me a little more something for a guy of Kyrie Irving's talents. Obviously, the off the court stuff. I mean, that's for me what really drags down his stock in my book. On the court, he's an amazing facilitator, handles probably like nobody else has in the NBA, averaging over 27 points a game this year. Hit the winning shot back in the 2016 finals to beat the great Warrior team, all-time or season winningest team, and it was Kyrie, not LeBron, that hit the winning shot.
True that.
But his saga over the last 3.5 years, whether you're talking, the basically forcing his way out of Boston, which is where he signed there as a free agent. Like he chose there and then said, you know what, nah, I'm out.
Crazy.
Goes to the Nets, has all the issues with the COVID vaccine. I mean, yeah, that's debatable. I mean, he might have had a point, but also it was a selfish move on his part. Uh, and then just had to take leaves of absences from the team. He had the issues this year with his comments about anti-Semitism. Like it's just always something with the guy.
Always.
And for Dallas, this is a huge, huge risk, but also a huge, huge reward potential because Dallas is a team. They're built. I mean, the Bucks aren't a good example because Giannis had Middleton pretty much from day one. They needed that third guy, third, fourth, fifth, build out the roster. That's how the Bucks were champions.
Yep.
Luka's down there doing it all by himself. He needs somebody, and you're not going to be able to get a player of Kyrie's talent without giving up everything unless he brings significant baggage. And that is what Kyrie Irving carries with him to Dallas now. Mavericks to give up, Spencer Dinwiddie, a guy averaging just under 18 points a game, Dorian Finney-Smith just under 10 points a game, and a 2029 first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. So really not that much. They didn't give up anything that's can't be replaced by Kyrie's production. So in that sense, they got a great bargain here for a guy who, he's a free agent at the end of the year, so he could be a rental, but also is there a huge market for him? Maybe not. I mean, the Lakers obviously would be interested in him as a free agent, and whether they have the money, I don't know. But I give Dallas credit because the West it's open to be won, right? I mean, it's at the very top. The East is so much stronger when you're talking Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, and Nets pre-Kyrie trade. All three of those teams, though, better odds than Denver, Sacramento, Memphis, whoever's out west. So the West is open. And if you can get a motivated Kyrie, who, I mean, he's talking about all this stuff, how he felt disrespected, unwanted. He used the word he felt like that he was being tolerated by the Nets. I mean, those comments very much lack self-awareness, but there also might be a grain of truth to that the Brooklyn, front office they genuinely had to tolerate the off-court shenanigans because of what he could do on the court.
I can see this from the side of Dallas. People forget they were in the Western Conference Finals last year. They have been in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. And I can really sympathize with what Jason Kidd is trying to do in his second year. He's trying to prove that he is capable of building and coaching a legitimate winning team. But then, of all the people to pull in for this, it's half man, half a season. I didn't come up with that. That is clearly a nickname from Chuck on TNT, but he's right. He called out Anthony Davis, street clothes for never playing, and he has rightfully called out Kyrie for barely putting in any time the last few years. Well, let's talk about last year, Brooklyn, the aforementioned immunization debacle, 29 games all of last year. Take his first year in Brooklyn, he played 20 games of that entire season. I mean, this guy, he just hasn't really been the same since he left Boston. I don't think this is a long-term deal, though. This is very much a rental. That's the way that I'm seeing it as well. Probably angling for a postseason deal with the Lakers via their GM LeBron. But all the luck in the world to Luca, who is not the distributor that KD is. So how that pairing is going to work out, who knows? And all the luck in the world to the Nets, who lost Harden. Now they've lost Kyrie. KD put in a trade request over the summer. I mean, holy smokes. I don't know if it's Jay-Z or Prokhorov or whoever is still in charge of that franchise, but this whole player empowerment era of the NBA, there are definitely some owners and administrators who are rethinking how things have played out.
Yeah, I just want to touch on for the Mavs defensively, teams that get playing against them. I mean, they're putting everything to stop Luca, and he's still putting up like 34 points and 7 assists, 8 assists. Like he's unbelievable. You give him a Robin to his Batman.
Yeah.
I think they could be very, very dangerous as long as he keeps his head on, lays low. I mean, this very much. I mean, you think about Kyrie. The only time he's had great success on the court is when he played Robin to
Mm-hmm.
LeBron's
Mm-hmm.
Batman. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe this trade, get out of the cutthroat media market that is New York. You get down to Dallas. Yeah, it's a big market, but like it's Cowboys country down there. Like, yeah, the Mavs, people follow them, but it's not like this is, this it's not the New York media market. It might be a little, you might feel like you can breathe a little bit more down there.
Yeah, and he can blend in to a state that's got the Spurs and the Rockets. Like you're saying, he's not the focus point.
and the thing too, he's from the New Jersey area. So like, New York City's it's not far from homes. I feel like there's you can almost that can almost work against you sometimes. Like you don't like you're not acting your most adult self when you're basically kind of at home. Like this will have to take him out of his comfort zone, similar to his experience in Cleveland. I think that there can be some parallels drawn there. And if he stays healthy, I could see this working out for Dallas this year. But I mean, it is one of those situations where it could blow up at any moment. And Mark Cuban and the Mavs, they know that. Like they're
Yeah.
not idiots. They haven't been living under a rock the last 3.5 years. So kudos for them for making a move. I mean, as a Bucks fan, would I want them to make this move? Absolutely not. Don't want to touch this guy. The core that the Bucks have now can win a championship as is. Let's go for it again. Run it back. But for Dallas, they need that guy to get them over the top. You had a chance to get someone of Kyrie's talent. You didn't have to give up a crazy amount. Why not? Let's go for it.
I am not going to hold my breath at all, other than to see if they can repeat their deep push throughout the West, especially now that Steph is hurt and LeBron did not get the extra help that he was looking for. Having said all of that, though, there is a different team that has a different set of expectations and hopes on the line that I want to chat about because there are 2/3 Marquette University games that we need to talk about for this show up through when we have our next show. I really wanted to get the number one Golden Eagle fans' opinion on this Big East stretch that y'all are on. I mean, definitely a great winning streak since Providence, but we talked about it before starting the show today. Things did not look too good against UConn. Then you got Georgetown coming up in a few days, and the game that you're going to next Wednesday, a rematch against Xavier, the last loss that y'all have had. So paint us a picture. What happened today? How do you feel about the next few games coming up? And your current standing atop the Big East?
Yeah, so winning streak no more. Just lost to UConn seconds ago. It happens. UConn. I told you on last week's show, top, I should say number 6 team in KenPom. One of those teams that their AP rank and their KenPom rank very different. But again, those two rankings look at different things. UConn for the last couple of weeks have been struggling. They're starting to round back into form, but their analytics and their efficiency have not fallen off. So, you have nights like this. They lost by, I think it was about 20. We're down 20 in the first half. Tough loss. Georgetown, worst team in the Big East, arguably the worst power conference team in the country. So I'm not too worried about that. Even going on the road, Marquette favored by KenPom by 14. So not worried there. But yes, next Wednesday, February 15th, Xavier at Marquette, rematch from a January 15th matchup that Xavier won 80-76. The two teams started tonight tied for first at 11-2. This race in the Big East it's probably the best, along with the Big 12, I would say, in terms of the power conference race. Four teams separated by just one in the loss column: Marquette, Xavier, Creighton, Providence. I'm optimistic, even with tonight's result against UConn. The schedule is very favorable. You can take care of business at home. You got road games with Georgetown and Butler, who are both bottom 3 teams in the league. Take care of those, and then your other, very tough game is at Creighton. But if you can get to the end of the season, just 4 losses in conference play, you're set up very well to potentially win at least a share of the league, if not the league title outright.
Holy moly. Okay, so things are lining up pretty nicely here.
Absolutely. And if this was a Wojo coach team, I would just be waiting for the February collapse, similar to the 2019 and 2020 seasons, when the month of February was an absolute disaster both times. Shaka, it's been a little different. Yes, they struggled late last season, but I think that was a bit of a byproduct of just absolutely overperforming for the month of January. I think they just totally raised their expectation level. This year, I think they're better positioned to maintain the success they've had. And ultimately, the biggest challenge for them and for any team in their similar position is staying motivated and staying on course through February. They're not worried about making the tournament. They're in. How do you stay motivated to keep getting better for the next month? Because you got games, Saturday's a great example. You're at Georgetown, a team you've already beaten this year. They've won one conference game. How do you get yourself up for that game to avoid disaster? You look at Xavier. They lost at DePaul. Road games in the Big East, they're tough. So it falls on the coach mainly. What does Shaka do to keep his players locked in and motivated for the next month? Because their goals: win a Big East regular season, win the Big East tournament, win an NCAA tournament championship. That's still a month away. How do you stay motivated and keep your players playing at their best when those external motivating factors are still further on down the line?
Well, I'll tell you how these teams stay motivated. It's because they want to be White James's team of the week. Late on us.
Okay, stop it. They're not paying attention.
I had to do it.
Although my team last week, how about St. Mary's pulling off the win over Gonzaga?
Go Gales.
Now are 2 games up in the West Coast Conference. I believe the last time, let's pull this up here. The last time St. Mary's won the regular season title you have to go back to 2012. Gonzaga has won it every year since, but it's St. Mary's in a position, and congrats to them after being team of the week. I am going a little bit on the low-hanging fruit end of the teams who had a big week last week. I'm going Indiana Hoosier Daddy Hoosiers, coming off that massive victory over number 1 Purdue. We're up big early, had to hang on for dear life, but ultimately did so 79-74. The guy you got to know from Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, 6'9", forward, all the post moves in the world, at 25 points, 7 rebounds, 5 blocks. Indiana could not stop Zach Edey. He went for 33 and 18, but they did enough to put up 79, and they are my team of the week. Backed it up tonight. They beat Rutgers at home. Rutgers, second place in the Big Ten going into tonight, 66-60. Indiana, this is a team, what I've been saying about the Big Ten all season, it's very Jekyll and Hyde. Teams get hot and then they get cold, and
they turned it
comers
around.
and goers. You look at this team, they started this year with big non-conference wins at Xavier and over North Carolina. Then they lost 6 out of 9, were 1-4 in the Big Ten. Since then, they have won, I'm counting 7 out of the last 8. Road loss at Maryland, their only slip up. They're 8-5 in the Big Ten. I just think this team, if they play like they did Saturday against Purdue, they can beat anybody. And Trace Jackson Davis, currently number 2 in the KenPom Player of the Year standing race. This team, again, if they play well, can beat anyone in the country. It's always a matter, though, of if with them.
Okay. I got Indiana. I got St. Mary's. I got the New Mexico Lobos. I mean, this list is really coming together for who I need to keep my eyes on come tournament time. Now, who do I need to keep my eyes on, though, for the games? Admittedly, it's a week that may be overshadowed, but I am trying to pay attention to some of these games that you're throwing out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Sunday they got a lighter slate. They do got some early games going on. Purdue at Northwestern, not on my list, but also that's it's worth checking out. But I got a 3-pack for you here. I'm trying to give you teams that we haven't covered and talked about so much. And we're gonna start. This is for Wednesday night, the 8th. We've got Iowa State at West Virginia. And you might say, oh, West Virginia, but they're 3-7 in the Big 12, currently 8th place. Why am I worried about this game? West Virginia in the KenPom rankings rank 14th. To put that in context, Texas in the Big 12 is 10th, Kansas 11th, Baylor 12th. West Virginia is the next best team based on KenPom rankings at 14. They haven't had the wins and losses. They start the year off 0-5 in Big 12 play, but they've beaten TCU. They've beaten Auburn. They've got a huge opportunity with Iowa State coming in, currently second place in the Big 12, just a half game back of Texas. Watch for West Virginia because they're in the Big 12. Literally every game is a resume building opportunity.
I hear you.
It doesn't matter as long as you take care of your business against the Texas Techs, the Oklahoma States of the world. If you go to Texas and you're competitive, if you go to Kansas, if you go to Baylor, if you go to Iowa State and you're competitive on the road, no one's going to say, "Oh, but you lost the game." I mean, that's such a tough league, night in and night out. And when you've got home games against these top teams like an Iowa State, you got to take advantage of it. And
I got you.
on the flip side, Iowa State, number um, 19 in KenPom. They started the year off great. We're 13-2, 4-0 in the Big 12. They've been on a bit of a backslide lately. They've lost 4 of 7, but had a huge win on Saturday, a 15-point shellacking of Kansas. Iowa
Yeah.
State, great defense, offense a little suspect at times, but they're just one of these Big 12 teams that is just such a grind to play against. And their coach TJ Otzelberger, he took this team to the Sweet 16 last year. Don't sleep on Iowa State. That's all I'm saying.
I won't.
All right, next game I got for you here. Let me get back to my summary here. We're going Saturday. Let me tell you, Black James, if you are around a TV on Saturday,
What time Saturday?
all day,
Okay.
I've got
Okay.
as many as, I mean, I'd say 7, 8, maybe 9 games that are genuinely worth watching. But I might pinpoint highlight one of these because these are two teams I know we haven't talked about. It's a huge rivalry game. It is Alabama at Auburn. It's 1 o'clock tip on ESPN Saturday. And this is our first chance really to talk about Alabama, right? Coached by Watertown, Wisconsin native Nate Oates.
Holla.
This is year 4 of the Oates era in Tuscaloosa tournament each of the last 2 years. This is this is easily the best team he has had at Alabama. They're the number 1 fastest tempo team in the country.
Okay.
They're top 5 defensively, top 5 offensively. That's always something I like to look for, right? In national championship contending teams, top 20 in offense, top 20 in defense. I mean, this is a fun team. Freshman Brandon Miller, arguably one of the top freshmen in the country. Just 3 losses on the year for the Crimson Tide, but they've got one of the toughest road environments to go to at Auburn. Bruce Pearl, our old buddy from UWM, still getting it done. Up until about 2 weeks ago, things were looking pretty good. They were 16-3, 6-1. They've lost 3 out of the last 4. They had a really rough game on Saturday at Tennessee. Final score 46-43. Just an absolute rock fight of a game. I got to check tonight. They were at Texas A&M. They were up 15 earlier. Got to check on how they're doing there. But this is an Auburn team. We know last year they had, obviously, Jabari Smith, who went on to be, I believe, the number 2 pick in the NBA draft. They had Walker Kessler, who has not only replaced Rudy Gobert in Utah, but is actually arguably doing better at a much lower cost than Gobert was doing. So they lost a lot of talent, but Bruce Pearl has replaced. They're currently up 1 at Texas A&M, our old buddy Buzz Williams. But they got a big game Saturday. Alabama coming to town. That one is must-watch television.
Duly noted.
Duly noted indeed. I got one more for you. We're going as the train goes by here and we can't hear. Choo choo ka-choo. All right, we're going. Here we go. We got to talk some Big East here. Next Tuesday, Valentine's Day for some, Big East night for others. We've got the other 2 top Big East teams. We already talked Marquette Xavier. We're talking Creighton at Providence.
Yes, sir.
This is a Creighton team that went through. It's basically a season in 3 acts so far, right? The first couple weeks, they looked incredible. They played one of the best games of the season in Maui against Arkansas. They won 90-87. I remember sitting down and watching this game, and it was played at such a high level in terms of offensive execution and just pure shot making plays. And I'm like, wow, both of these teams, top 10 for sure. But neither of them have gone on to have great seasons since then. Arkansas down to 5-5 in the SEC. Creighton, they had a 6-game losing streak. But looking back, there wasn't really a bad loss. I mean, losing at home to Nebraska, yep, that one probably would qualify, but losing to Arizona, Texas, BYU, Arizona State, Marquette, all either on a neutral court or away, all without your best defensive player, 7'1" Ryan Kalkbrenner. He was out with mono, which I mean, I feel like we haven't heard a lot of players out with mono. That was like, pre-COVID. If you're out sick, it's probably because you're doing some inappropriate things and got sick from it. But he's back. He's healthy. This Creighton team, very good defensively. They've won 6 in a row in the Big East. They beat both Providence and Xavier in that time at home, but they've got to go to Providence on Valentine's Day. Can I just tell you about the job Ed Cooley's done really quick?
My guy.
Ed Cooley, that is your guy. That's a Black James kind of guy. They lost their entire starting lineup to graduation last year, right? And you want to talk about playing the transfer portal to perfection. Ed Cooley, bringing Bryce Hopkins from Kentucky. Devin Carter came in from South Carolina. Noah Locke came in from Louisville. Alan Breed, he was one of the few. Him and Ed Croswell, they were guys who stuck around. He's just totally revamped the team and has them right back in the conversation. Like I said, just a game and a half out of the first place spot. And Bryce Hopkins, a guy who got very little minutes at Kentucky last year, has turned into a top player in the Big East. This is going to be a great game. I think Creighton is the team right now you don't want to face, but we'll see how they do on the road And this is something that it's becoming a bit of an epidemic, if you will. Stadiums getting renamed and just not sounding correct. You used to have the Dunkin' Donut Center, right? The Dunk, Providence, Rhode Island. Everyone knew the Dunk, but now it's Amica Mutual Pavilion. Get out of here!
What?
Yeah, I mean this goes right in with Miller Park, Heinz Field, Dunkin' Donut Center. They're all the same building, but you can't do these renames. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. It will always be the Dunkin' Donut Center to me.
And downtown Milwaukee will always have the Midwest Express Center for me. But that's
Amen.
Because we're a bunch of old heads. Certain things don't change. But one thing's for sure, we will always go over our predicted time because we're bringing you content, folks. We're going to make you wait a little bit. Black James is traveling. White James is watching the Eagles, but we'll be right back with you. All the Super Bowl reactions, best commercials. Did Rihanna live up to snuff? Who knows? Find out next time. Peace.
Peace.